Another early morning testing of OBS here. Guys, if you're in the chat, let us know how the volume sounds here. Getting the levels right. Getting the levels right here. Let me check the stream, make sure I'm live here. We're going to talk a little bit of Trump, a little bit of DC gentrification today. I've been seeing a couple tweets and articles coming out. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. And let me see if the volume's coming in the levels right. Yeah, I think the volume's good. And we're going to talk a little bit of DC. It's be mostly DC news, at least for the first part of it. I think you'll find this interesting. Me as a landlord, and there's been a lot of talk about gentrification here. So we're going to talk about a little bit of that this morning. And so I might as well get started. And so the first article I saw was about, it was actually a tweet. I think some guys related to the American Renaissance. Well, let's take a look at that. Give me 1 second, pulling the screen up. And here's that tweet from them. And here they're saying, interesting statistics here for those of you who may not have known this. In 1920, DC was 75% white. In 1950, 65% white. In 1990, 27%. About 37%, 37% white. Currently, in 2025, you can see the chart here. You see the numbers going down and slightly increasing here. And for those of you that have been paying attention to the stream, one of the things you'll notice is that over the last couple of weeks, is that most of the people that have been calling in have been Africans looking for places to live, not necessarily Americans or blacks or whites or anything like that. Been primarily Africans that I've been renting to. I've probably rented to about 4 or 5 Africans, in addition to the Africans that I already rented to, as well as other foreigners. So here we have, and mostly they're living in Northwest DC, which led me to a couple of things here. In DC, most of the black residents live in Wards 7 and 8, and they are combating displacement and gentrification by sheltering in place. And let's see what they're talking about here. And here's a group of young men here. Matter of fact, let me kick this off on Kick. Let me start this up on Kick. How do I do that? I start it on Kick here. Oh, Kick is already started. Okay, cool. Clips is already started. Maybe I'll start it after I finish the real estate. We'll go to the main channel here. Anyway, so Ward 7-8 residents combat displacement of gentrification here. Historic Anacostia, this is in Southeast, along with hundreds of communities around the country, are losing their soul, style, and history to gentrification. According to Anacostia native Jason Anderson and Modesto Flaco Jimenez from Bushwick, New York, during a weekend-long salon discussion series entitled Taxalandia, Anacostia Experience, the two artists said they would rather stay in the neighborhoods they were raised in and attempt to maintain the community's culture, memory, and their family's legacy. I'm a community organizer, and I'm just investing in this community, said Anderson at Hunfleur Gallery during Taxalandia. Hunfleur Gallery is a gallery down in kind of this, I guess, it's empowerment zone, downtown Anacostia. They've created a lot of art galleries down there as part of the gentrification there. Everybody I know here, I have a good relationship with. Somebody tried to rob me 2 weeks ago, and my mom said I should move, but no, I'm just connected. I attempted to make plans to relocate, but I can't explain what it is that keeps me here. The homogenous enclaves where neighbors are like family and businesses forge authentic relationships with the community are transitioning to condos grounded by chain stores, eerily long hallway apartments, and identical neighborhoods with red doors and siding and sans serif font house numbers. Mom and pop stores and carryouts that can't keep up with rising rents are being pushed out, along with DC's indigenous renters and homeowners, and some newcomers, gentrifiers, are normalizing neighborhood disconnectedness. Taxalandia, the name of the show, reveals that DC is not alone, as the multi-city project is taxing through select cities. It partners with local artists and storytellers to amplify neighborhoods that are experiencing gentrification. So on and so forth in this article. I'm now in a neighborhood where my apartment would be $3,000 a month, and I'm under 1,000, so I'm in the city living pretty much like a homeowner. I know the person that might stick me up. I run a business in my own community, and I'm able to travel the world. Why would I leave, says Jimenez. This is where I grew up. He curated Taxlandia based on his experience with gentrification in his New York neighborhood. My grandmother didn't get to the point of literacy to buy, but she left me her rent-controlled apartment. We talked about this a while back with Floyd Mayweather buying a bunch of rent-stabilized apartments in New York. It is kind of like ownership, and as you can see here, this guy's referencing passing the apartments down. It's one of the things I thought about when I thought about Floyd Mayweather buying all that rent-stabilized apartments here. They flipped through photographs. Anderson, whose real name is Jay Sun, shared photos of himself on the former corner of Martin Luther King and Good Hope, now Marion Barry, where a boarded up facade hid a vacant lot where Capital One Cafe now sits. He shares photos of himself on the porch of the Frederick Douglass house, blah, 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 blah. And these other Ward 7, Ward 8 renters here talking about the gentrification. Here's the series here. Take a look at it. And here is the series. It's a Brooklyn artist. The guy, I thought he was from DC. Anyway, he's a Brooklyn artist here, Taxlandia. You can buy tickets to that. Anyways, something else I saw that kind of plays along with gentrification here, and it's this article here. Most of you are probably familiar that Trump is taking over the Kennedy Center, and you'll see in this headline here, I'm sure there's going to be a pop-up, DC's annual Blacks in Wax performance leaves the Kennedy Center. Now in its 19th year, the play Vignette and Museum will be held at the Duke Ellington School of the Arts. Now what's interesting is the Duke Ellington School of the Arts is not in the ghetto. I think that's near Georgetown somewhere. It's the school of Dave Chappelle. The Recreation Wish List Committee, in partnership with DC's DPR, Southeast Tennis and Learning Center, blah, blah, blah. That's in Southeast. But their event is going to be held. Oh, wow. It's going to be over in Southeast. What? Okay. It's going to be held at the Arc. This right behind me here. Oh, well, the other one will be held. Again, this is a very affluent part of Northwest here. So they're not going to stay all the way 100 in the hood. DC's annual Blacks in Wax performance is moving away from the Kennedy Center for 2025. Now in its 19th year, it celebrates the 60th anniversary of the Voting Act, and it will be held at the Duke Ellington School on March 15th. It's not clear whether the performance was moved from the Kennedy Center because of President Donald J. Trump himself, the chairman. The Southeast Tennis and Learning Center, that was I think that was funded by Serena Williams and her sister. The annual Blacks in, what does it say here? The annual Blacks in, where is it? The annual Blacks in something. Annual Blacks in Wax Living History Program is one of the DC Department's Parks and Recreation's most unique and successful educational programs, and that will be out of the Kennedy Center now. It'll be coming closer to home to where most of the black people live. And here's some photos of, I guess, the last Blacks in Wax here. Maybe a video, probably his music. Maybe. Keep moving on here. Anyway, so that's the Blacks in Wax. There's a photo video here, photos. What the hell is this? Oh. All right, anyways, back to the DC rents here, and that was the Blacks in Wax. They're leaving the Kennedy Center. Some more articles, again, about DC, and the rents are increasing here. DC area rents increased to over $2,200 on average. That was back in September. DC sues landlord alleging housing discrimination. That was a month ago. DC area rents post largest annual increase among large metro areas. DC rents, and this is what I found interesting here. DC rent rises following mass federal layoffs. Virginia sees rent price surge. This is interesting. This is one of the things I think will contribute to the the gentrification here. After months of decline, median rent in the DC area in DC rose 2.7% year over year to 2,300, according to a new report from Redfin. This report follows a period of fluctuating rents. Rents in the district peaked at 2,400 in July 2023. Arlington, Virginia led the region with a 12% increase, reaching 2,500, and Silver Spring saw a drop of 7% to $1,600. Again, what one would have expected of the job cuts and job losses due to Trump coming in, it hasn't trickled down to the rents there. It's actually going the other way. And the next article here is DC rents are rising, and some vary by more than $1,000 a month. As the busy spring apartment rental season gears up, landlords are raising rents in the DC area, John Galt included. But average monthly rents across the DC metro area vary by as much as $1,000 a month in the most populous rent markets. And I wonder what makes them cheaper in some areas versus the others. Redfin reports that average rents in the district rose 2.7%. Asking rents had fallen in 9 of the last 12 months. I can kind of agree with that. I kind of felt that myself. Redfin report does not break down average asking rents by apartment size or type. And you see DC coming in at 2,300, and Arlington is the most expensive area in DC here. Bethesda's average rent was 2,700 though, 1,000 more than the least expensive market, which is Silver Spring. And there's a big difference between Silver Spring and Bethesda, even though they're in the same county. Bethesda is very affluent. Silver Spring is not poor, but not as affluent as Bethesda here. After Bethesda, Arlington rents are second highest, averaging 2,500. The two cities are followed by Rockville. These are suburban areas here, and then coming in 23, 25, basically DC and Rockville. That's very interesting. DC and Rockville are basically about the same in rent. We did a live stream, and a lady lived in Rockville, and I think she was paying about $2,000 a month in rent. That's kind of interesting, man. Interesting indeed. The amount of rent in the metro area is definitely increasing, and I think that'll lead to a lot of the gentrification. But as I've been talking all along, it seems to me that much of the gentrification is a lot of the immigrants now. If you've been listening to this stream, you've heard many Africans call in, and they are definitely renting rooms there. Just had another one call in yesterday, and his sister is going to be paying his rent. And then you flip that to the other side, the Black American lawyer who can't pay his rent. Rents in the DC housing market rise after the glut of federal layoffs. And that's very interesting. And I'll maximize the screen here. The median rent in DC rose 2.7%. We covered that. And we covered most of this. Soaring rent prices come as job cuts and return to office mandates remold DC's job market. But Redfin economists noted that it may be too early to link rising rents with employment changes. The district is always in transition, especially when a new administration takes office. People moving in and out. Rents will be impacted if laid off workers move away in droves, but also by workers who want to live closer to where they work. Now they are required to come back to the office. So you're going to see, I think that's going to balance out and going to push up the rent and the demand for housing closer to the cities, in my opinion, there. And here's one more article. This is the Redfin article, I think. And from Twitter here, we're going to cover Michelle Obama. We'll get to that on the next stream here. But definitely, I want you guys to really think about all of the people that have been renting rooms for me from the last month. I've hardly rented to one white person. I don't even know if I rented to a white person. In DC, it's been almost exclusively black and predominantly or primarily Africans. And it seems to be that they will be the new face of gentrification, at least leading the way into Northwest DC. That's primarily where they want to live. Yesterday, I had another African that lives here in Southeast, and he expressed interest in moving to Northwest. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on the blacks that do live in Northwest to continue living there if it's seemingly that a lot of the migrants, particularly the Africans, are moving to Northwest. Once again, I hope you've enjoyed the stream. I think it's been pretty informative here. Just one landlord's point of view, what I've been seeing the last couple of months, that with the Africans filling up the void of where the Black Americans, maybe not necessarily in the marketplace for rent in Northwest, the Africans are definitely filling up the void there. We're going to start up another stream covering Michelle Obama and her new podcast. I hope you take a listen to that. Thank you again for joining.